Attorney Robert Patillo, Chris holding down on the ones and twos, people, passion, and politics on this Sunday afternoon on WAOK. We're joined now by Bishop Garland Hunt. We spoke before, one of the friends of the show, Dean Nelson, conservative leader of the Douglas Institute, passed away several weeks ago. Unexpectedly, we, of course, sent our prayers out to his family. Dean was a just outstanding human being and individual, devout Christian family man. No one that I have ever met has a bad thing to say about Dean Nelson. But given the gargantuan task of following his footsteps and the leadership of the Douglas Institute, is Bishop Garland Hunt, who joins us now. Bishop Hunt, how are you doing?
I'm doing great, Robert. Good to be with you. Thank
Well,
you for
thank you
having me
so
on.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I wanted to just start off a little bit by just talking about what Dean Nelson meant to you, and I've spoke many times about what he meant to me. But why was he so important and such a heavyweight in this field that we're trying to kind of feel the feet of?
Yeah, let me just say, Dean was like a spiritual son to me. So my heart was definitely broken that God decided to take him on, but certainly having that opportunity to be before the face of Christ, that's just beautiful. But he was a tremendous man of God. We knew him when he was a college student at University of Virginia, and he was a leader from then, and he was a leader until his last day. So he did a lot of work on campuses. Many people don't know about him being one of our top leaders in the nation, actually, with the campus ministry that we had, New Generation Campus Ministry. He touched college campuses all up and down the East Coast. And so he was a leader of leaders regarding that. And we had thousands of young people that were really on fire. And he was leading that charge even then. And then he went on to go into full-time ministry at a time when he was really being trained to do. I think he majored in rhetoric there at UVA, and then he went on from there doing full-time ministry. He did a youth ministry, global outreach here in Atlanta, and then eventually went to D.C. and he did a tremendous work there, and eventually it turned into the Douglas Leadership Institute, where he was the chairman, and that's when he was when he passed. But he reached so many people. I mean, he just had a real grace for bringing people together, facilitation, I mean, connecting with people. I mean, he was a spiritual son of mine, and I'm asking him to introduce me to his folk he knew. So he was really, really one of those guys that people loved and really cherished. So many people in so many facets of our country tremendously have missed him, and we all miss him dramatically since he's gone to be with the Lord.
Absolutely. And one of the things I really loved about Dean was he was kind of my archetype for what I think of when I think of black conservatives. Because he was a man of God. He believed in his mission. He was pro life, pro family. The Douglas Institute was really fighting towards those issues, but he just steered clear of a lot of the landmines and bomb throwing. It was a conservatism rooted in biblical principles, rooted in love of neighbors, love of family, love of community. Can you kind of talk about what the mission of the Douglas Institute is and how you kind of stepping in there is going to help to push that mission going forward?
Yeah, well, that was actually the impetus for Douglas Leadership Institute. You know, it was really taken really from the life of Frederick Douglass himself. You know, starting, of course, as a slave, and just how he taught himself, and he also had just such an impact on the country. Everybody from the president, Abe Lincoln, all the way through the Reconstruction era, he just had an impact that had a resounding impact, not even worldwide. So Frederick Douglass was a good example of what the organization was named after. But the organization itself has some major principles, one of which is really empowering the black family. If we can strengthen the black family, that's really the core of the source of what needs to happen in a black community. In so many cases, we've had fatherless homes. I mean, as you know, I mean, when you're talking about almost 75% of black children that are born to an unwed mother. And so without the father in the home, there's a major issue right there that a child has to overcome. So one of the things that DLI does is really talks about strengthening the fatherhood, strengthening the mother, strengthening economic empowerment to the family, and doing all we can to also get them involved in their communities. But so that was a major focus. Also, we also have a big impact on life. Dean had a real heart for the ministry of babies in the womb, and the child is defenseless, really, in the womb. And we're making so many laws affecting that life, but we want to preserve that life in the womb, that child will come forth and be what God called and created that child to be. So, and then, of course, in the black community, it's even worse because, there was a genocidal impact on blacks, where Margaret Sanger and Planned Parenthood has done all they can to really, based on eugenics, to have a genocide on Black America. So one of the things that has always been a major point also for Douglas Leadership Institute, and clearly helps with the family, is how to protect babies in the womb, and these black babies, so they will have a chance to live. And so that's always been a major part. And then other things like economic opportunities and criminal justice reform, those are just some of the areas that are really important to us. And probably even of all of those is equipping faith leaders, especially black pastors and faith leaders, to understand how to apply biblical principles so they can be involved in civic engagement. We feel like blacks should have an impact, but if it has a biblical principle to life, and that's one of the things that was very important. And you're right, we stay away from just maybe some of these conservative extremes, and we just stand on the Bible. The Bible is the strength and the core of where we stand. So I'm definitely going to continue that in terms of the organization, in terms of where we stand on biblical values and biblical truth.
And with that, what are some of the initiatives you want to launch? Now that you kind of not just stepping into the helm, because of a bunch of the political atmosphere out there. As soon as folks hear about something being conservative, they think it's going to be Trump and Candace Owens and January 6th and MAGAs. How do you want to go about kind of approaching and speaking to the black community and helping folks to understand that we have a lot of principles that we have in common that are outside of the political dynamic, and we have to start voting on black issues first and working on black issues first, and then deal with everybody else's stuff later?
Yeah, I tell you what, like I said, we start with the Bible. That's how we do it, because the Bible does not have a political party. The Bible's not Republican, and the Bible's not Democrat. So if you can start from that source, and of course, without excuse, we want to apply a biblical standard, what we call biblical worldview, to understanding life. And so the goal is not to appeal to a conservative group just because they're conservative or Republican, but it's how can we stand for truth and stand for the Bible, and therefore it keeps us to a place where church leaders, faith leaders, believers, and I even believe the black family in general, regardless of where they stand spiritually, they do much better having morals and values that they stick to. I'll give you one example of that is that as we talk about, we mentioned about abortion, that's one example. If young ladies could understand respect for their life, and we can get these young men to understand fatherhood, then it would cut down on abortions immediately, because you're trying to get a biblical standard for their life. And same things with marriage, how to set up marriage and make sure that you maintain respect for marriage in the home. All those things are things that we can look to really strengthen the black family. So yes, in the Douglas Leadership Institute right now, we're going to continue especially emphasizing and strengthening black family. And I think no matter what, that's going to be a calling card. Black families all over the nation need to hear that. Many of them are struggling economically. They're struggling. Women are struggling without a father. We got to get these young men out of prison and get, because we are criminal justice reform, and we want to get them where they can learn how to be true fathers. We have to do everything we can to have, whether it's programs, whether it's panelists that we can bring, whether it's speeches that we can give, whether it's forums we can bring them to, and really even help their own pastors learn how to disciple and train, so that we can really get these young men in the case where they will really be fathers, and also understand not really depending on government, but they really are dependent on themselves to raise themselves up and be a man of God at home and say, as for me and my house, we'll serve the Lord. So the whole idea is really encouraging manhood. If we encourage manhood in the families, I believe it will make the family stronger, and it'll make the whole black community stronger, regardless of political party. The critical is the biblical foundation upon which every family will stand.
It seems that the world has become, as they used to say in the church, I don't really talk about it anymore. It seems that the world is winning the battle for the souls of our community, of our country. It seems that the world is more wicked now than has been at any point in time, and it's more acceptable for things to be wicked now than at any point in my lifetime, I know, but perhaps in the history of the country. If you look at the what's in media, movies, music, politics, the pulpit, hell, the half the pastors are worse than the rappers now. What can be done to bring young people back to the church, bring young people back to a biblical perspective? Because many of them have simply lost faith in all institutions. They don't believe in schools. They don't believe in church. They don't believe in politics. They don't believe in news. If you listen to Gen Z, it's just they have a complete view that everything is wrong, everything is corrupt, and they don't want to be bothered with anything. How do we bring them back to this perspective?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I wish I could say you were wrong, but it's true. The church has to clean up. So let's start with the church itself. We got to understand that the Lord Himself is saying He's calling for a remnant, and He's calling for the church to be genuine, authentic, and really preach the Word of God and live to the Word of God. So I agree. Many of the Gen Zs and even the millennials, they were tired of a church that was not based upon authentic Christianity and was based more on form and fashion, entertainment value. I mean, and the church drifted away, quite frankly, because it became more of a theater event than it did really the love of Christ heart to heart and really enjoying what church life really should be. So we lost that covenantal relationship. But I believe that if we can just get young people to at least try it, to see other young people on fire for Christ, maybe they will try it. Maybe they will come and they would see some father figures that are in the home that really do care about what's going on in their homes and praying for them and walking them through. And maybe they can go from high school and help them through to college. Things that they may not have had an opportunity to get outside. The church has to be very practical, as also not judgmental, but at the same time very clear about biblical standards. And it's a big difference between judgmentalism, which usually turns most people away. But if they have biblical standards and truth, and they begin to understand it, then their lifestyle would change. Because black people, we have churches almost on every corner. We're the most church group of any other American ethnicity. But at the same time, we're the ones also that have the most destruction to our families. So that means the church has to rise up and do its job. I don't blame them. I say the church has to be more concerned about those that are on the streets, those that are running away, teenagers that are running away from God. I mean, social media has kids moving away, and they will believe social media before they believe a preacher. It used to be the preacher was the last word. But now even just the preacher and his respect has fallen so short. So we have to raise the banner back to say that a Christian value and a Christian lifestyle is worth modeling. It's worth being a model in our community. And we take responsibility in our communities, not just having church on Sunday and let everybody go, but we care about what takes place on the streets. We care about those that are downtrodden, the families down the street that don't have ability to eat, and the kids are wayward and they're about to get put out of school, can they come to church and find other brothers that will stand with them? It's the church. So I do agree with you. Unfortunately, many people have gone away from the church, but the church, as we correct ourselves, I believe God will put us in a position to better serve and support our communities. And that's really where it is. So that's one of the things we want to do with DLI. A lot of what my focus is going to be is, one, helping these faith leaders become true statesmen and true men of God in the pulpit and women of God in the pulpit, and then also teaching and training and discipling those that are in the pews so that they can go out and work with their families and not be so judgmental if you have to come looking like a certain way to come to church. But we're saying we were not going to judge you from the outside, but we are going to change you inside out. And if those changes begin to happen and it's communicated to our communities, I do believe that there will be a change. And with DLI, as we call it, we want to be in the forefront of calling families together and really making a difference in the communities around us.
All right, before we run out of time, how can people find out more information about the organization? How can they join? How can they support it? Just give us the rundown on how people can get involved.
Right. Well, the dlinstitute.org, dlinstitute.org is our website. And everything's there. If you want to find anything about us, it's dlinstitute.org. You can find out about us. You can find out about our leadership. You can find out about our standards. You can communicate through us through there. You can write with us. You can chat with us. All that. That's probably the best place. We also do have a Facebook page also where you can communicate. But social media is the thing. Just go to dlinstitute.org, and that would be the best way to communicate with us. But we would love to have people a part. We need the support. We need encouragement. But we have a vast job ahead of us. But I believe we can do it if we stick together.
Well, if there's anything I can do, just in the memory of Dean, anything you need from me, just let me know. I'm always happy to help, and I'm glad to see Douglas Leadership Institute is in good hands, and the mission continues, the work goes on, the cause endures, the hope still lives, and the dream will never die. Thank you so much, Bishop Garland Hunt from the Douglas Leadership Institute. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Robert.
Thanks. All right, we're going to hit a quick break. We'll be back after the break. Calling 447-226-1380, News and Talk 1380 WAOK.